Hanju was almost annoyed to death. Was there something wrong with this dog? Wait! Could it be that the Demon Emperor had already guessed that he was the Dark Forbidden Lord? Terrified, Hanju hurriedly used the derivation function to ask if the Demon Emperor knew that he was the Dark Forbidden Lord. After deducting 100 million years of his lifespan, he learned that the Demon Emperor did not know that he was the Dark Forbidden Lord. It seemed like he had other motives. Hanju didn't dare to have any contact with the Demon Emperor, lest he was found out. New SD rise at Nivel bin, he continued to cultivate. After reaching the rank 8 Immortal Emperor realm, as his absorption speed increased, his cultivation speed also increased greatly. At this rate, he would soon reach the rank 9 Immortal Emperor realm. After reaching the deity realm, Hanju would definitely devour the negative karma and advance by leaps and bounds. Hanju was looking forward to it. Time passed quickly in the 9 Nether Purgatory, because there was nothing here. There was only endless negative karma, and not many incidents occurred. To the Hidden Sect, it was no different from the past. The Hidden Sect competition that occurred once every 100 years continued. This matter was handled by Murongchi. After all, he was the war god. Duan Hongchen and Black Hell Demon Lord also participated. Unfortunately, they couldn't defeat Diamond Rage. Although Liu Bei had the body of the victorious fighting Buddha, his soul and body had not fused enough. He couldn't defeat Black Hell Demon Lord, who was also a rank 5 Immortal Emperor. This might change in the future. Among the disciples, Li Yao was the first. It was worth mentioning that she had already grasped the 4th level of the Heavenly Sword Dao, the Immortal Slaying Sword formation. Unfortunately, only one of her swords was very strong. Dao Comprehension Sword had just comprehended the 3rd level. Sword creates the primordial world, but it was already quite good. The other disciples also improved. The most shocking was naturally Chu Shuren. After accepting Lu Huaxiu as his disciple, he cultivated seriously and pulled away from Lu Huaxiu and Zhou Mingwei. He had already reached the Grand Unity True Immortal Realm first. Even Sun Chang'an had been surpassed by him. The weakest was definitely the chaotic heavenly dog. Back then, its eyes had been gouged out and its providence had been stolen, causing it to take a long time to recover. The Black Hell Chicken was not bad. It had already reached the Grand Unity Heaven Immortal Realm. In short, the entire Hidden Sect was improving at an extremely fast speed. After the calamity ended, everyone would probably be experts who could dominate an area of the immortal world. 30 years passed in the blink of an eye. Hanju put down the Book of Misfortune with satisfaction. Every 10 years, if he did not curse his enemies, he would feel uncomfortable, as if his life was missing something. Hanju was about to continue cultivating when someone disturbed him. Golden Crow Token, Jiang Yi. Hanju connected with his divine sense and asked, "Are you saved?" Jiang Yi smiled and said, "I'm saved." It was a blessing in disguise. My cultivation level has also increased greatly. I'm now a rank 3 Immortal Emperor. Amazing! Of course! Jiang Yi's tone was filled with smugness. How many years had he been in the Emperor realm? Hanju asked, "Is there anything else?" Jiang Yi smiled and said, "Come to the deity realm of the ruins of End." "I've already." Hanju directly cut off the divine sense connection. Crazy! Trying to trick me after just being saved? At this moment, Jiang Yi's divine sense fluctuation came from the Golden Crow Token again. Hanju connected to it. "Rat! How can you be so rude?" Jiang Yi roared. Hanju said coldly, "What kind of fortuitous encounter do you want to trick me into looking for again? You clearly have a hard time, but you still want to scam a friend." Friend? Jiang Yi felt awkward hearing that. Speaking of which, he had indeed lived a miserable life in the deity realm of the ruins of End all these years. But how did Hanju know? "I've only asked for help once." Jiang Yi said in a low voice, "I'm not lying to you this time. If you come to the deity realm of the ruins of End, you can avoid the immeasurable calamity." Hearing this, Hanju asked in confusion. Why? I'm not sure, either. This is my first time here. I heard that the deity realm of the ruins of End is not under the jurisdiction of the heavenly Tao. Then, why don't all the living beings in the immortal world go there? We have to cross the dark forbidden zone. It's extremely dangerous. Even an immortal emperor is not completely safe. Hanju raised his eyebrows. This is a high-level map? Jiang Yi said, however, the deity realm of the ruins of End is not as lively as the immortal world. There is also insufficient immortal chi and even fewer opportunities. Those below the emperor realm will not be able to escape death if they come here. But you are different. You should be an immortal emperor already. In any case, you don't want to enter the calamity. Hanju replied, thank you for your kind intentions. I'm hiding in an extremely safe place now and can't enter the calamity. Impossible. As long as you're under the heavenly Tao, you will definitely enter the calamity. We'll see. Really? Then tell me a story. I'm not free. That's all. We'll talk next time. Hanju directly severed his divine sense connection. I wasn't as strong as you last time, so I had to entertain you. Now you want me to tell you another story? Countless years later, if news of this spread, it would probably embarrass the Dark Forbidden Lord. Jiang Yi didn't disturb Hanju anymore, and he continued cultivating. In a bright Taoist temple, Long Hao was meditating. His condition was extremely strange. His face twitched, with half of it emitting golden light. He suddenly opened his eyes, which shone brightly. He began to pant. Whoosh! Long Hao looked down at his hands and then stood up to size up his body. He was overjoyed. Success! As expected of the son of the heavenly emperor with the strongest potential. He's somewhat similar to me. Long Hao smiled in satisfaction. It was Hao Tian. Possession succeeded. He suppressed Long Hao's soul and forcefully controlled his body. Hao Tian walked out of the Taoist temple. There was a huge lake outside. The sky was colored with green mountains and rivers. It was as beautiful as a painting. He came to the lake and admired the scene before him. How many years had it been? He finally saw the world with his own eyes. At this moment, a figure appeared by his side. It was a Tao child. The Tao child said, Master wants you to go. The disciples of the Jie school are here this time. You can't be missing. Hao Tian glanced at the Tao child and nodded with a smile. Humph, Jie school, Chan school, I want to capture all of you at once. Killing intent flashed across Hao Tian's eyes very subtly. Another 10 years had passed since he had contacted Jiang Yi. Hanju cursed as he checked his emails regularly. He suddenly saw an email and frowned. Your disciple Long Hao has been possessed. His soul has been suppressed. Hanju hurriedly checked his interpersonal relationships and discovered that Long Hao's information had the word possessed. Ridiculous. Hao Tian was courting death. Hanju immediately stopped cursing the demon emperor and changed it to cursing Hao Tian. 5 days later, Hanju continued to curse with his lifespan while staring at the emails, afraid that Long Hao would also die. After about 100 million years of lifespan were deducted. Because of your curse, your disciple Long Hao's dermic powers are in chaos. His body is on the verge of collapse, and Hao Tian's soul is suffering a backlash. Long Hao has taken control of his body. Hanju immediately stopped. Long Hao was too weak, causing Hao Tian to be in a tough spot as well. Hanju frowned. What should he do? Hao Tian was like a time bomb that could threaten Long Hao at any time. Hanju couldn't deal with Hao Tian personally and could only plot against him remotely. No! He had to contact the Heavenly Emperor. However, Hanju couldn't contact him now. It would easily expose his identity. He would wait another 10 years. Hanju took out the Heavenly Tao token and started to contact the Heavenly Emperor. The Heavenly Emperor quickly asked, What is it? Your Majesty, did something happen to Howard? Oh? You feel the same? Yes, I've deduced that Howard seems to be in danger. He's very fearful. I understand. I'll go find him now. The conversation ended. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief and continued cultivating. In the past 10 years, there had been no emails about Long Hao being possessed again. His portrait was still there. Presumably, Hao Tian also did not dare to harm him. Otherwise, he wouldn't keep Long Hao's soul around until now. In the mountains and rivers, Fang Liang lay in the rubble on the ground. The mountains and rivers in a radius of 10,000 kilometers seemed to have been bombed. A visible fog could even be seen in the sky. The black clouds covered the scorching sun as two figures fought in the sky. All sorts of mystical powers were at their fingertips. Sometimes, violent winds howled, and sometimes, violent lightning descended, wreaking havoc in the world. One of them was Ji Xianshen. Despite wielding 10,000 tons of lightning, he was being suppressed. His opponent was a bull-headed greater demon dressed in thick and sinister armor. He held a huge axe in his hand, and as he waved it, flames surged like waves, sweeping across 10 million miles. He was unstoppable. Fang Liang clutched his chest and sat up with difficulty. He didn't look injured, but his dermic powers were exhausted. This fellow is at least a rank 2 immortal emperor. Fang Liang gritted his teeth and muttered to himself. His eyes flickered. He and Ji Xianshen were both Grand Unity Golden Immortals. Being able to fight an immortal emperor was already their limit. At this rate, they would all die. Fang Liang suddenly thought of the invocation technique. However, he immediately rejected this thought. He couldn't implicate Grandmaster anymore. Grandmaster had already saved him twice. If he did it a third time, he would be letting Hanju down. Fang Liang gritted his teeth and returned to the fight. For a Grand Unity Golden Immortal to have such strength, the two of you are indeed considered prodigies. Unfortunately, both of you will die. Immortal Emperor Ox Demon laughed disdainfully and wantonly, resounding through the world. The disheveled Ji Xianshen smiled sinisterly. I've heard too many people say that. I'm not dead. They're dead. He raised his hands and triggered the lightning to attack with the power to destroy the world. 7 years passed after contacting the Heavenly Emperor. Hanju suddenly opened his eyes. He felt inexplicably uneasy. Did something happen? At his cultivation level, his intuition was very accurate. His Tao heart was stable, so it was impossible for him to feel uneasy for no reason. Hanju checked the emails. As he read, he noticed 2 emails. Your good friend Ji Xianshen was attacked by a demon immortal emperor and unfortunately died. His soul was luckily saved by a mighty figure. Your grand disciple Fang Liang was attacked by a demon immortal emperor and unfortunately died. His soul was luckily saved by a mighty figure. The two of them were really tied together, just like Zhou Fan and Mo Fuzhou. Too bad. Hanju checked his interpersonal relationships and found that their portraits were still there. That was fine. How troublesome. They went around causing trouble despite the immeasurable calamity. They deserved to die outside. Hanju snorted. He was extremely dissatisfied with Fang Liang. However, he still used the derivation function to deduce who had saved the two of them. He actually needed to use 80 million years of lifespan. Hanju wanted to vomit blood. He still chose to continue. Then, in a daze, he arrived at a Taoist temple. Ji Xianshen and Fang Liang's souls floated above a huge cauldron boiling with medicine and smoke. Di Tai Bai. No! Immortal Emperor Samsara. Immortal Emperor Samsara had the appearance of Di Tai Bai. He wore a black Taoist robe and had 2 pupils. He stared at them coldly. Di Tai Bai? Why is it you? Ji Xianshen asked in shock. As the leader of the Heavenly Court's literature immortals, Di Tai Bai was known to everyone in the Heavenly Court. Fang Liang was also very surprised. Immortal Emperor Samsara said calmly, I'm not Di Tai Bai, but Immortal Emperor Samsara. NSA. Immortal Emperor Samsara? The two of them were stunned. Clearly, they had never heard of this name. Do you want to win the Providence and obtain the Zenith Heaven Tao fruit? Immortal Emperor Samsara asked expressionlessly. Zenith Heaven Tao fruit? What an arrogant tone. Ji Xianshan asked, what do you want? Immortal Emperor Samsara said, I don't want the present, but the future after several calamities. What future? You shouldn't care. All you need to know is that I can help you become stronger. It depends on whether you dare to enter the calamity. Ji Xianshan and Fang Yang looked at each other. The two of them could see the unwillingness in each other's eyes. They said in unison, yes. The scene shattered. Hanju returned to the Khanate cave abode. He frowned. What was Immortal Emperor Samsara doing? Although Immortal Emperor Samsara had a favorable impression of him, he had always been wary of him. This fellow even dared to hide beside the Heavenly Emperor. He definitely had great ambitions. Hanju continued to deduce, I want to know why Immortal Emperor Samsara saved them. Unable to derive mental activity, Hanju showed a frown. In other words, Immortal Emperor Samsara had never revealed his intentions externally. Hanju asked in another way, is he targeting me? 50 million years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. He's targeting your other identity, the Dark Forbidden Lord. Hanju was confused. The Dark Forbidden Lord had provoked Immortal Emperor Samsara before? Hanju didn't remember cursing him. Was this fellow trying to cause trouble? Since it was targeted at the Dark Forbidden Lord, it had nothing to do with Hanju. He was also embarrassed to curse him directly. After all, he had obtained the inheritance of Immortal Emperor Samsara, and Di Taibai had helped him a lot before. He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He continued cultivating. The situation became more and more chaotic. He had to reach the deity realm as soon as possible, or he would not be able to protect himself. After the Tao field upgraded and the speed at which it absorbed negative karma increased, Hanju's cultivation speed remained very fast. He might be able to become a rank 9 Immortal Emperor soon. Heavenly Court. In the Imperial Garden, the Heavenly Emperor sat in the stone pavilion drinking. Sitting in front of him was Jing Tiangong from the Jie School. Dark Forbidden Lord? I don't know. I also want to find trouble with him, the Heavenly Emperor said casually. Jing Tiangong said openly, impossible. The Heavenly Tao Buddha has gone mad, the Demon Emperor's temperament has changed drastically, and the Divine Palace has changed owners. Among the four factions, only Your Majesty is becoming more and more high-spirited. The Dark Forbidden Lord must be related to Your Majesty. Don't worry, I'm not looking for trouble with him. I want to seek refuge with him. Your Majesty, you have a plan. If you can contact the Dark Forbidden Lord, can you introduce him to me? I'm fascinated by him and am willing to do anything for him. The Heavenly Emperor's expression did not change as he pondered. It seemed true. Although the Dark Forbidden Lord had cursed him, it did not hurt. Could it be that the Dark Forbidden Lord was really related to the Heavenly Court? Or did the Dark Forbidden Lord want to frame them? The Heavenly Emperor shook his head. I really don't know. Jing Tiangong gritted his teeth and said, as long as Your Majesty is willing to help introduce me, the Jie School will definitely help the Heavenly Court in this calamity. I also want to know who the Dark Forbidden Lord is. After hearing Jing Tiangong's words, he increasingly suspected that the Dark Forbidden Lord was plotting something. As time passed, the Divine Palace, Buddhist sect, Demon Court, and other factions would also suspect him. Previously, he had even instigated the other races to impersonate the Dark Forbidden Lord. The other party was not angry, either. The more the Heavenly Emperor thought about it, the more his expression darkened. Jing Tiangong stared at him, waiting for his reply. After a long while, the Heavenly Emperor said, I really don't know who the Dark Forbidden Lord is. Thank you for your reminder. You made me realize that he might be paying attention to me. Jing Tiangong frowned. This was not the answer he wanted. How about this? You help me. If I can encounter the Dark Forbidden Lord, I will definitely introduce you. The Dark Forbidden Lord controls the calamity. It's easier for a leader of a force like me to contact him. You should understand, the Heavenly Emperor said slowly. Jing Tiangong frowned even harder and cursed the old fox. Another 10 years passed. As usual, Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune to curse the enemy while cultivating and checking his emails. Your good friend Huang Jihao was attacked by demons, X124322. Your good friend Li Daokong was attacked by your good friend Pen Xian. Your good friend Zhang Guxing has fused with the Sword Dao River. His Sword Dao has increased greatly. Your good friend Divine General has obtained a body of Providence and his soul has transformed. Your good friend Jiang Yi has obtained a supreme treasure. His providence has increased greatly. Your good friend Zhou Fan has undergone training. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Immortal Emperor Samsara was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure. Your enemy Heavenly Dao Buddha has lost his mind because he hates you. So many fortuitous encounters. Why did Li Daokong bump into Pen Xian? He was not injured. This fellow was something. Li Daokong was one of Hanju's most troublemaking friends, but this fellow was also the only one who was not severely injured. It seemed that no matter who he faced, he would not be injured. As expected of the eldest disciple of the human school, Hanju was a little tempted. It did not seem bad to acknowledge Li Daokong as his master. However, he had to wait until the calamity was over. If Li Daokong was still alive and far stronger than him, he could consider it. Perhaps at that time, Hanju would no longer need a master. Also, had the Heavenly Dao Buddha only lost his mind now? What happened previously? Did he take revenge on all living beings by acting crazy? Hanju felt that the Heavenly Dao Buddha was very dangerous. It was better to kill him if there was a chance. He continued to look down. The Heavenly Court was still in a fierce battle. The calamity had been activated for a period of time, but it had not stopped. Immortals were immortals. They could really endure it. A month later, Hanju put down the Book of Misfortune and continued cultivating. However, after cultivating for a few months, Dao Comprehension Sword came to him. Master, the Fusong tree is shaking again. It said that it's very afraid. She said anxiously. This was the first time such a situation had occurred since the Fusong tree had developed intelligence. Hearing this, Hanju subconsciously checked the experts around Hidden Insect Island and found no enemies. He immediately stood up and walked out of the cave abode to the Fusong tree. The other disciples gathered and discussed. Hanju looked at Fusong tree and asked, just like before, what existence has targeted you? The Fusong tree shook as if it was trembling. It replied, I'm not sure, either. I'm inexplicably afraid. I can't control this fear. Hanju showed a frown. Black Hell Demon Lord walked over and said, I'm afraid there's something in the Nine Nether Purgatory that should be related to birds. Duan Hongshan added, there are indeed birds and beasts in the Nine Nether Purgatory. The most terrifying is the primordial phoenix. After it perished in the calamity, it was suppressed in the Nine Nether Purgatory. If it's him, I'm afraid. Hanju said, it's fine. I'll think of a way. With that, he turned around and left. The other disciples continued to discuss. This Nine Nether Purgatory is still not safe. It's fine. Even the Phoenix can't find us. Even Grandmaster isn't panicking. What are you afraid of? Haha, just like Da and Xiao from before. Don't even think about running away. Can you not talk about this? Back then, I almost ate all of you. After returning to the Khanate cave abode, Hanju ignored the worried Dao Comprehension Sword and began to use the derivation function. I want to know who made the Fusong tree uneasy. Hanju thought silently. 100 million years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? 100 million years. Crap. If finding out only the identity of the other party cost this much, it was very likely that it was a big shot. Hanju continued nervously. He felt dizzy. When he opened his eyes again, he came to a dark void. This was still the Nine Nether Purgatory. Boundless negative karma transformed into a dense fog that filled the air. It was even darker than the place where Hidden Sect Island was. Hanju quickly noticed panting in the darkness ahead. He narrowed his eyes and was almost frightened to death. It was a pair of eyes. The single eyeball was larger than the entire reroll world. Even Hanju, a rank 8 immortal emperor, couldn't see its entire body. Words appeared in front of him. Primordial Yuan Phoenix, cultivation unknown. Master of negative karma. Once the head of the Phoenix race, he participated in the first immeasurable calamity and died. His soul was suppressed by the heavenly Tao. Later, he was sent into the Nine Nether Purgatory by the Tao ancestor and endured the endless torture of negative karma, never to make a comeback. The overlord of the first immeasurable calamity. Hanju felt his scalp tingle. This was a true big shot. Being targeted by him was not good. Hanju's consciousness returned to reality. He continued to ask in his heart, will the primordial Yuan Phoenix find Hidden Sect Island? No! He's surrounded by negative karma and can't move. The Tao field can block his divine sense. The Fusong tree has limited appeal to him. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. But this made sense. Although the Fusong tree was a divine tree, it might not be attractive in the eyes of mighty figures. The Fusong tree was afraid because of its instincts. After some time, it would get used to it. Hanju suddenly thought of the losers in the Nine Nether Purgatory. Would legendary figures appear? Forget it! What does that have to do with me? I can't think of them as my idols. It's easy to die here. Hanju hurriedly warned himself that he couldn't use his previous life's memories to assess these legends. Legends were ultimately for mortals to see. It had all sorts of motives and could not be trusted completely. Hanju looked at Tao Comprehension Sword and said, it's fine. I've already deduced that there won't be any danger. It'll be fine after the Fusong tree gets used to it. Pleasantly surprised, Tao Comprehension Sword quickly stood up and spread the news. Everyone from the hidden sect believed Hanju firmly. If he said that there was no danger, there would definitely be no problem. After the Fusong tree learned of it, the shaking decreased greatly. Hanju stopped thinking and cultivated in peace. One day, he would surpass the primordial Yuan Phoenix. Perhaps after he sucked the Nine Nether Purgatory dry, the primordial Yuan Phoenix would be grateful to him and directly bow down to him. That would be quite awesome. Fairy Xixian had returned from the reroll world. After training in the mortal world, she seemed to have comprehended something and could not wait to enter seclusion. This small incident didn't interrupt Hanju's cultivation. His cultivation level increased again. He was getting closer and closer to the rank 9 immortal emperor. His mind was filled with thoughts of breaking through. He even read fewer emails. The peak of the immeasurable calamity might be coming soon. He had to have the strength to protect himself. There were very few zenith heavens in the immortal world. As long as one reached the deity realm, it was very difficult to die. Of course, even if he was in a hurry, Hanju didn't forget the mission of cursing once every 10 years. This kind of mission was already deeply rooted. It was also for the sake of happiness and stable cultivation. It couldn't be forgotten. On this day, the Golden Crow token emitted Jiang Yi's divine sense again. Hanju couldn't be bothered. It was a waste of time. If a person wanted to die, even the Zenith Heaven Divine Immortal could not save him. He continued to cultivate. His Tao heart was as firm as a rock. Another 10 years passed. Hanju cursed the enemy while checking his emails. He wanted to see what his friends were up to. Your good friend Jiang Yi was attacked by a mighty figure. His body was destroyed and his soul was suppressed. Your good friend Tao Sovereign was attacked by the true dragon race, X23110, your good friend Li Daokong was attacked by a true dragon race mighty figure. Your good friend Heavenly Emperor was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your disciple Long Hao was suppressed by your good friend Heavenly Emperor. Your good friend Huang Zuntian obtained a secret treasure of the Jie school. His providence has increased greatly. Your disciple Su Qi has obtained the great Tao of misfortune. Your good friend Zhou Fan has been enlightened by a mighty figure. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Li Daokong has become a person facing the calamity. He was indeed having fun. Hanju couldn't help but curse Jiang Yi in his heart. What a useless thing. Couldn't he be more well-behaved? He was originally the #1 prodigy of the Golden Crow Divine Clan, but now, he was almost a commoner. No matter how talented he was, he couldn't screw around endlessly. Hanju noticed that the Heavenly Court was attacked by the True Dragon race. What was going on? The Heavenly Emperor was from the True Dragon race, so was he beaten up by a fellow member? Did something happen to the Heavenly Court? Long Hao was suppressed by the Heavenly Emperor, probably to deal with Hao Tian. This kid, Su Qi, was quite something. It seemed like he was going to make a comeback. The next time he returned, he had to deduce it and see if he could let him in and not be harmed to death by him. Hanju thought silently. Seeing Zhou Fan's actions, he couldn't help but complain. Was this fate? In fantasy novels, 2 words could describe this. How terrifying. Also, Li Daokong, you've finally become the person facing the calamity. I can't watch anymore. Hanju continued reading and clearly felt the immortal world becoming more and more unstable. It seemed like a huge battle was about to break out. A month later, Hanju took out the Heavenly Dao token and contacted the Heavenly Emperor. Soon, his divine sense connected. Your Majesty, how have you been? Not good. The Heavenly Emperor's tone was filled with exhaustion. This was the first time Hanju heard this tone, and his heart skipped a beat. The Heavenly Emperor sighed. Recently, someone has spread rumors that the Dark Forbidden Lord is related to the Heavenly Court. Most importantly, the ancient races that worship the Dark Forbidden Lord have all declared that they will live and die with the Heavenly Court. We have been surrounded by forces that hate the Dark Forbidden Lord. The 4 heavenly gates are still in chaos. I don't know how long I can last. Fortunately, you haven't returned. Hanju showed a frown. Damn it! Who used my name to attack my heavenly court? Hanju was furious and prepared to spend his lifespan. He consoled, Your Majesty, hold on. Isn't the Buddhist sect an ally? The Buddhist sect can't even take care of itself. The Divine Palace was the first to lead the endless ghosts of the 9 nether purgatory to attack the Spirit Mountain. It's said that many Buddhas have already perished. In the previous calamity, the Buddhist sect had harmed too many living beings. They might have fallen earlier than the Heavenly Court. Hanju remained silent. What was going on? If the great villain Buddhist sect collapsed, the Heavenly Court he wanted to protect would also collapse. Hao Tian was already suppressed. Could it be that his fate had changed again? The Heavenly Emperor instructed him before hurriedly severing his divine sense connection. Hanju asked in his heart, I want to know who planned the current crisis of the Heavenly Court. Derivation impossible. Too much karma is involved. Hanju was stunned. What do you mean? More than one person is involved? Hanju was speechless. He continued, then, I want to know who will be the biggest winner in this immeasurable calamity. 1.5 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? More than before? It seemed that this fellow was even more ferocious than the Heavenly Tao Buddha, the Demon Emperor, and Hao Tian. Do it! Hanju gritted his teeth and chose to continue. Immediately after, his consciousness was brought into the illusion again. Hanju opened his eyes and discovered that he had arrived outside the 33-layered heavens. The hall ahead was the Nivel Imperial Palace. A figure stood in front of the palace. Hanju narrowed his eyes. Wasn't this the founder of the Divine Palace, Zhu Tu? The Nine Nether Purgatory was activated by him. He was the biggest winner? Zhu Tu said, Sage, you promised me the position of a sage. When will you honor it? A female voice came from inside the palace. Zhu Tu, the condition I gave was that you had to win without slaughtering all living beings. Now that the living realm is full of wandering ghosts and all living beings are dead, do you still have the cheek to ask for the sage position? Aren't you afraid that the Tao ancestor will know? Zhu Tu did not panic at all when he heard this. He said coldly, I knew you would go back on your word. You sages always go back on your word. Could it be that the sage positions are limited and can't tolerate new sages? If that's the case, then I'll look down on the great Tao calamity. I want to slaughter sages. I'll give you a chance to assist me. Otherwise, I'll kill you first. Hanju almost cursed. Another slaughter. Are you crazy? If he wanted to fight for Providence, so be it. Why did he have to slaughter strangers? Was Zhu Tu possessed by the devil? Was he so arrogant? Hanju wanted to hear the sage's answer, but everything in front of him shattered like a mirror. After returning to the Khanate cave abode, Hanju was conflicted. Should he save the people or think of a way to save the heavenly court first? Sigh. I'm only an ascetic cultivator. I don't want to enter the calamity. Why do I always have to face such a huge choice? Oh Tao ancestor, in order to protect your heavenly Tao, I've really tried my best. Hanju felt bitter. It seemed that he had to curse Zhu Tu in the future. Although Zhu Tu did not hate him, this fellow would slaughter all living beings. Sooner or later, he would harm the people he cared about. Perhaps even he would not be able to escape death. But the most important thing now was to consider heavenly court. Hanju thought for a long time but couldn't think of a way. Forget it. Hanju couldn't figure it out and couldn't be bothered to think about it. It wasn't that he was heartless, but that he was helpless. He couldn't go to the heavenly court to be buried with them, right? 10 years later, something finally happened to the heavenly court. The immortals were not attacked again. In his interpersonal relationships, not many of his heavenly court friends had died. Hanju took out the heavenly Tao token and asked about the situation. The heavenly emperor's laughter sounded. Ha ha ha, the crisis has been resolved. The Chan and Jie schools have come to help. With the two disciples of the human school, the heavenly court is equivalent to obtaining the support of the entire Tao sect. It frightened those forces into retreating. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. Indeed. Even without him, the heavenly Tao continued to operate. To think that he was still worried about them. His cultivation speed had slowed down a little. The heavenly emperor's voice sounded again. That's right, I want to ask you. Do you know the Dark Forbidden Lord? Could he be the master behind you? The heavenly emperor knew? Impossible! Hanju panicked and subconsciously smiled. Yes, I'm the Dark Forbidden Lord. The heavenly emperor chuckled. I believe you. Hanju said helplessly, Your Majesty, I've always been avoiding calamity. If I'm related to the Dark Forbidden Lord, wouldn't I have long entered the calamity? With my nature, with such a master, I definitely have to stay away. Feeling that it made sense, the heavenly emperor continued, Other than me, the other 3 overlords of the 4 overlords of the immortal world were all implicated. Is the Dark Forbidden related to the heavenly court? Either that or he wants to harm the heavenly court. Hanju cursed silently. But what do you want me to do? Curse you until you go mad? Hanju felt bitter but didn't dare to reveal his thoughts. He added, It's indeed very likely a conspiracy. The Dark Forbidden Lord is plotting against the entire immortal world. We should plan for the worst. We can't expect him to be one of us. The heavenly emperor smiled and said, That makes sense. You're thinking the same thing as me. No matter what, with the help of the Tao sect, the various forces in the immortal world shouldn't really believe that the Dark Forbidden Lord is from the heavenly court because there's no need for it. The current heavenly court is definitely the strongest force. Hanju could tell that he was very happy. It seemed that the help of the Tao sect made the heavenly emperor confident. Your Majesty, you should be careful. Ever since I joined the heavenly court, how many allies have you changed? Hanju couldn't help but remind him. The heavenly emperor fell silent, feeling a little awkward. Hanju asked, "How's Howard?" "He's fine, but I can't find the soul in his body. I can only imprison him for the time being. Pay more attention usually. If it's really Hao Tian, it won't be good." "I understand. Don't worry." The two of them severed their divine sense and ended the connection. Hanju was relieved that the heavenly court was fine. As for the heavenly emperor suspecting that he was related to the dark forbidden lord, that was fine. He could suspect anything. The heavenly emperor wouldn't believe that he was the dark forbidden lord. This was normal. From the heavenly emperor's point of view, he definitely could not understand why the dark forbidden lord was so weak. Hanju didn't just rely on the Book of Misfortune. He also relied on the system, the Tao field, and many other methods to make the enemies who cursed him unable to predict him at all. Even if Void Emperor traveled to the past, he was stopped by Hanju. What he needed to do now was to cultivate in peace. He had to be like before to completely dispel the heavenly emperor's doubts. On the other side, in a pavilion in the heavenly court, the heavenly emperor put down the heavenly Tao token and fell into deep thought. Since it has nothing to do with him, who else can it be? My sons don't have to help me like this. I know how strong they are. There's only one possibility. The dark forbidden lord wants to frame me. After thinking it through, the heavenly emperor's eyes turned cold. Although he was almost successfully plotted against by the dark forbidden lord, the heavenly court also obtained the help of the Tao sect because of this. This was a good thing. No, I have to be wary of the dark forbidden lord. I need to find a supreme treasure to guard against the curse. The heavenly emperor immediately stood up and left. 7 years later, Hanju's cultivation was interrupted as Jiangyi contacted him with the Golden Crow token. Thinking of how he had rejected him before, Hanju still took out the Golden Crow token. "What is it? Why did you ignore me previously? You must want to drag me to the deity realm of the ruins of End again. I don't want to be beaten up with you. You don't trust me that much? Then tell me, what is it now? Opportunity? Or help you find help?" "I need help." Hanju was speechless. He asked angrily, "The Golden Crow Divine Clan just left and something happened to you again?" Jiangyi gritted his teeth and said, "This time, it's a huge matter. The Buddhist sect invited a mysterious faction to help us in the deity realm of the ruins of End. I accidentally bumped into them. If not for the account of my master, I would have been directly killed by them. Now, I'm suppressed in a Dharma treasure. I'm in too much pain. Save me." Hanju asked in surprise, "They didn't take away your Golden Crow token?" "This Golden Crow token is hidden in the depths of my soul. They can't sense it." "All right, I'll ask the Heavenly Emperor for help now." "Brother, thank you. You've saved me twice. From now on, you're my best brother." Cough cough, if you don't have absolute confidence in the future, don't go overboard. Hee hee. Hanju severed the divine sense connection and picked up the heavenly Tao token to inform the heavenly emperor. The heavenly emperor immediately agreed. He also wanted to see what the Buddhist sect was up to. He had always been wary of them. Hanju put down the heavenly Tao token and stretched. Tao Comprehension Sword asked curiously, "Master, was the #1 prodigy of the Golden Crow Divine Clan looking for you just now?" She had heard of Jiangyi from Black Hell Demon Lord and the others. She also knew about Ada and Xiao Er's background. Therefore, she found it amazing that the #1 genius of the Golden Crow Divine Clan was so respectful to Hanju. The Golden Crow Divine Clan was nothing much. Is the outcome of adventuring everywhere. This fellow kept telling me that there was a huge opportunity and I didn't go. I'm still fine now, but he was on the verge of death several times. Dao Comprehension Sword nodded and said seriously, Master is the most sensible. Master's Dao heart is what cultivators should possess. If everyone in the world was like Master, how can there be an immeasurable calamity? Hanju shook his head and laughed. What twisted logic. Unfortunately, not everyone's potential is the same as ours. With poor potential, one could only seek opportunities. Hanju didn't say anything else and continued cultivating. Now, the speed at which negative karma transformed into cultivation was becoming faster and faster. It was even faster than Hanju's chi cultivation through absorbing chi. This was a good thing. The amount of negative karma of the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus was huge. Coupled with the negative karma outside the island, it could be said to be endless. Hanju could also use this opportunity to repay the Heavenly Tao. At that time, the Heavenly Tao would reward him with great merit. In the blink of an eye. 20 years passed. Hanju was getting closer and closer to the rank 9 Immortal Emperor. He had a feeling that the speed at which he would break through to the rank 9 Immortal Emperor realm was faster than breaking through to the rank 8 Immortal realm. On this day, Hanju was still cursing the enemy when Jiangyi contacted him again. Hanju connected with his divine sense. Brother, thank you. I've already been saved. Our patriarch is also very grateful to you. He said that you are an eternal friend of our Golden Crow Divine Clan. In addition, didn't you take in Di Hongya's 2 children? The patriarch has shown mercy and allowed them to return to the clan and enjoy the treatment of prodigies. Jiangyi smiled. Towards the end, he was a little proud, as if waiting for Hanju to praise him. Hanju rejected politely, forget it, let them stay by my side. They'll return after the immeasurable calamity ends. That's true. Now that the calamity has arrived, we can barely protect ourselves. Cultivate well when you return. I won't hide it from you anymore. I've already surpassed the rank 5 Immortal Emperor realm. Actually, I gave you face previously, but I can't bear to see you continue to suffer. After struggling for a long time, I still decided to tell you the truth. Hey! Are you listening? Jiangyi, are you dead? Hanju was surprised. Why wasn't this fellow saying anything?